News that Cambridge Analytica exploited Facebook user data to help get Donald Trump elected has set off a public outcry, the impacts of which are still unfolding. But there are still other services you might not even be thinking about that are collecting your personal data, like dating apps.
The industry's dirty little secret is that these apps are collecting too much data, and most consumers don't know. They just click yes on the policy if they even happen to read it.
Dating apps convince you to hand over gobs of your data in the hopes that you'll find love or maybe some quick intimacy. And the truth is there's a lot of promise in giving up your data, especially as the technology gets better.
In an ideal world, you go on the platform, it says, hey, Ruth, here's your future companion. And you're like, yes, this is my future companion.
Oh my God.
And the companion says, there's Ruth, who I've always been looking for. That'll never happen. But you can imagine a distance between there and where we are right now.
Of course, there's a trade-off. These apps have tons of data about you all in one place, and it isn't so private. Some of them ask you really deep questions about who you are and how you identify on major social and political issues, information they get to keep. Others tap into Facebook for pictures of your face and profile information. But all of them have access to some of your most intimate conversations, not to mention GPS data, unless you have that feature turned off.
So if you install Tinder or any of the match group apps, whether it's OkCupid or others, right, or Plenty of Fish or Tinder, they're going to actually collect a ton of information on you. The question is, how frequently are they collecting it? And they're not really revealing that, right? In fact, Facebook has not revealed the 50,000 data points. When someone asked for all their Facebook data, they gave them about 100 data points when we all know that they have a lot more. And so I think these dating apps collect more than we understand, and we need transparency.
We don't know how much data dating sites have, but what we do know is that they've used it to run experiments on users before. Around the time the Facebook mood experiments were made public, OkCupid co-founder Christian Rudder said as much. And like with Facebook data, dating data can be scraped. Remember when researchers published a report using information from 70,000 OkCupid users? All of it was public, at least to anyone who started a free account. Not only that, but dating sites often share your information with third parties.
For example, Google acquired AdMob, and it's a little engine you install for advertising, but it does a ton of analytics. So if OkCupid wants to monetize you in other ways, they'll install the AdMob module, and it will collect tons of data going over to Google, but you won't see that in the privacy policy. All you'll see is we collect data and we share it with third parties. It's just too vague.
Like with Facebook, data on dating apps can be shared, scraped. You don't really know what's being done with it. There is some hope in a new European law called the General Data Protection Regulation, which makes specific data sharing much more consensual. Unfortunately, that regulation hasn't come to pass in the US. So while you can ask these companies for a record of what they have on you, there's little standing in the way of them using your data in a way you might not like. But that just might be the cost of convenience to finding your next date in the palm of your hand.